lives by sharing their stories and making their voices heard. Every single day, I speak to student loan borrowers, and I listen to how student debt has impacted their lives. I think of borrowers like Casey from Arkansas, whose husband is unable to work after COVID complications, and now their budget is a little bit tighter. I think of Dara from Florida, whose life is on hold as she wonders if she's going to be able to get married and buy a house with her partner. I think of Sharanda from Connecticut, who wasn't able to graduate with a degree, but who has tried paying off her student debt and faces an uphill battle. I think of Annie from Montana, whose daughter asked her to take out Parent Plus loans for her, but because of her high debt burden, she said she could not. I think of Wilson from New York, who has to work multiple jobs just to be able to afford his rent and his student loan debt payments. I think of my own story as a daughter of Brazilian immigrants, and I come from a low-income, hardworking family with no generational wealth. I think about how student loan borrowers are everyday Americans. They're teachers, nurses, retail workers, therapists, warehouse workers, and so much more. But most importantly, they're also our parents, our grandparents, our children, our loved ones, and our neighbors. It might even be you. President Biden's decision yesterday to cancel student debt is a historic one for millions of borrowers and their loved ones. Yesterday, President Biden said, "Our approach to help Americans who need it the most is necessary," and we couldn't agree more. That's why we are here today to continue the fight. This is a good first step, but we know that this is a single battle won in the war against the student loan system. We must continue to fight for borrowers, but especially for borrowers of color, low-income borrowers, first-generation students, women, single parents, and all those who are disproportionately impacted by student loan debt. So today we celebrate, but tomorrow we organize. Today we celebrate another chance to pursue what is marketed as the American dream for many individuals and their families, but tomorrow we fight for college affordability and further reforms to this system. Today, we celebrate this cancellation decision, but tomorrow we continue to fight on behalf of millions of borrowers who still will be saddled with student loan debt. Today we celebrate, but tomorrow we regroup. Tomorrow we organize. Tomorrow we fight. We persevere, and we will not give up. We won't give up because people should not be saddled with student debt for the rest of their lives. We don't give up because we have witnessed the power of a people-powered movement. And we don't give up because the most powerful tools that we have are our lived experiences. And we must continue to share them. Let's keep sharing our stories. Let's keep fighting for one another until we cancel every single dollar of student loan debt. Thank you.
Okay, and up next, we're going to bring 3 people up, so we'll go one after the other, because I know it's getting really hot out here, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we get to have Ebony Brown from Rise, Kia Hamadanchi from Peace Street, and Jaylon Herbin from the Center for Responsible Lending.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Ebony Brown. I am here representing RISE as the Deputy State Director for Georgia, and I also attend Morris Brown College in Atlanta. 1 in 8 Americans are facing inescapable student loan debt due to high tuition costs, interest rates, low minimum wage, and inflation. The list truly does go on. The ability to repay has reached an all-time low. Over 50% of Black student borrowers have reported that their net worth is less than what they owe in student loan debt. Black Americans are drowning in debt for the sake of a higher education and better income opportunities, only to realize that same debt can affect your ability to purchase a home, only to realize that same debt can affect your credit worthiness, only to realize the one thing that we thought would catapult our social, economic, and financial status has put us at a disadvantage far greater than we could have ever imagined. And not only does it affect the borrower, but it also affects the cosigner, who 9 times out of 10 are parents who face the same adversities, and that is a problem. Studies show that providing Americans with $50,000 will cast a net and be able to support 80% of Americans who are facing and who cannot repay their student loans. But today, I do stand here and I do say thank you to the Biden administration for canceling up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients such as myself. And although it's not the $50,000 that will cast that net, but it is a start, and we do have more work to do. Canceling student debt is deeper than just signing a sheet of paper. It means investing in greater America. It means supporting your working class. It means promoting equity in minority communities. It means bridging the financial racial wealth gap in America. Once again, we do thank Biden for this start, but we are not finished. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kia Hamadanchi. I'm with Peace Street. First, I really want to thank Senator Warren and all our other champions in Congress who worked really hard to make sure this remained a priority for the Biden administration. I also want to thank all the advocates and activists who worked so hard day after day to make this a reality. And I also want to thank President Biden, who, in taking this action yesterday, finally fulfilled a campaign promise he made to the American people. This is just an example of why it's so important to have President Biden in the White House, why it's so important to have Democratic majorities in Congress. And for anyone who is questioning voting in 2022, this is exactly why it's important to make sure they get out and vote. This is obviously still the beginning. There's still a lot of work to do. We need to continue to relieve the debt burden for every single American. And we also need to make sure that future generations never face the debt burden of today's generation. And I look forward to working with everyone here to make sure that happens. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jalen Herbin, and I serve as the Policy and Outreach Manager for the Center for Responsible Lending. For about 10 years, we've heard that this is regressive. This is not going to happen. What was a dream, a wish, turned into reality yesterday. Reality that brought forth a second chance, opportunity, hope, and the ability to one day have their American dream. The American dream will not be right here in this White House, but it'll be able to own their own house, to be able to start their own family, to be able to have a small business. And that's what happened yesterday. So we commend President Biden and his administration for doing what was needed, what was right. Instead of waiting and just wanting to put it off, he did the right thing now. While it might not be what we wanted to see, it is a first step in changing our financial aid system. The Department of Education is the biggest predatory lending bank in the United States of America, with over $1.9 trillion in student debt. That changed yesterday. There was opportunities for those to receive $10,000 of student debt cancellation and $20,000 if you receive a Pell Grant. That is monumental, and that deserves a kudos to the President of the United States. But moving forward, we must make sure that our federal student aid system is fair and inclusive to borrowers of color. We know that black women hold $10,000 more of student debt than the average white male. We know that women hold 2/3 of the debt of student debt in the United States of America. That has to change. We need to make sure that we have a fair and inclusive public service loan forgiveness program and income-driven repayment program as well. So until we get that done, we will always continue to say, cancel the student debt, extend the payment pause, and cancel all of that debt. Thank you.
Can we say it's not done until it's done? It's not done until it's done. All right, next up we have Lydia Zayachek from RISE, and after that's going to be Sarah Kugler from Move On.
Hello everyone, I'm with RISE. We are students fighting for free college. My name is Lydia Zayachek, and I'm a rising sophomore at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The decision to forgive a portion of student loan debt is a victory for so many. I remember sitting in my kitchen with my mom right behind me, waiting to open my acceptance letter to UW-Madison. The emotions were filled with excitement but stress all in the same matter, knowing that even with in-state tuition, my parents nor I would be able to afford the price tag behind it. My parents have over $100,000 in student loan debt, and no way could they assist me with my own costs. I worked so hard to make UW possible. I ended up staying late nights and applying to every scholarship under the moon. I didn't want this opportunity to go to waste. Lucky for me, I landed a scholarship where they would pay my tuition in full. Canceling student loan debt puts relief on working families like mine. While this is a great start and definitely worth celebrating, let's do more. Excitingly, in 2023, all UW system schools will offer free tuition to students and families who make under $60,000. This model should be expanded nationwide. Even with the relief of free tuition at my university, there are many other costs that students struggle with. For instance, I have personally experienced an affordable housing crisis. On my campus, housing is limited. I am a resident at the last UW housing cooperative, Zoe Bayless. This became particularly important in the wake of the university's decision to tear down my home for the new Letters and Science academic building. Students protested, raised money, and with all this wake, displaced residents had to find a new affordable home alone. But not everyone can win this battle alone. And affordable housing is a prevalent issue amongst colleges across America. Colleges center expanding athletics, building new infrastructures, and expansion of programming, but none of this is touching the most vulnerable students. Why are students choosing between their home and education? Why, when students graduated, they're awarded with a degree and $100,000 in debt? Biden's initiative is taking a step towards relieving students, but there are many initiatives on campuses that need to be resolved. Free tuition, affordable housing, food crises. Let's not end here with student loans. We can make college free for all. We can award this opportunity to all students and families, but we are simply choosing not to. As students, we have the power to take the next step by voting. And in November, let's all continue this energy to the polls, because this is not a current student issue, but a family issue, a community issue. But lastly, it's a national issue. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kugler, and I'm here on behalf of Move On, a community of millions of progressive across the country who take action to make change across issues and in communities. We are so thrilled to be here today to celebrate this historic first step to provide long-awaited relief to tens of millions of student loan borrowers, including around 20 million borrowers whose full remaining loan balance is estimated to be canceled. This is a transformative act that will improve millions of people's lives. We know that student loans disproportionately burden Black and brown borrowers and low-income borrowers. The $20,000 in relief for Pell Grant recipients announced yesterday will help an estimated 27 million borrowers, a huge step towards addressing the lived impact of economic inequities in accessing higher education. We're grateful to President Biden for this historic action and to our congressional champions who fought tooth and nail for this day, including Senators Warren, Representative Omar, and Representative Presley. Move On's executive director, Ronna Epting, called this action, the biggest and boldest action a president has ever taken to provide student debt relief to struggling families. And our members know that struggle. Like Ray, a 70-year-old Move On member in Illinois, he shared with us that now 2 years into retirement and living on a fixed income, he still has nearly $100,000 in student loan debt from attending an educational institution that was eventually shut down. Nicole is a Move On member in Louisiana who shared with us that as a nurse with more than 20 years of experience, as she was helping and treating COVID patients at the height of the pandemic, she continued to carry more than $45,000 in student loan debt. Nicole told us that it, will be a blessing if President Biden can do something to relieve the pressure I feel. And Jackie, a Move On member in Oregon, who told us that she, in her 60s, is both parenting children and supporting aging parents, and holds around $50,000 in student debt. Jackie said, I have to continue to work just to support my family, and that student loan debt relief would take a huge pressure off her at her age with so many people to care for. Move On's members have fought so incredibly hard for this moment. Back in 2011, a Move On member named Robert Applebaum started a petition calling for student loan forgiveness that generated more than 1 million signatures. And President Obama responded to that petition with real policy changes to improve this federal student loan program. Fast forward 10 years, 11 years, and Move On members have led dozens of petitions to cancel student loan debt that have generated more than 3 million signatures. They've made thousands of calls to members of Congress and to the White House. And they've come to the joyful weekly rallies calling for student debt relief that we all just walked over from today. Woo! And of course, Move On's members and folks around the country fought to elect a Democratic president in 2020, which is what made this moment possible. Today, we celebrate this significant victory, But just like in 2011, our work continues. Because this relief is means tested, we need to ensure that as many eligible borrowers as possible receive this forgiveness automatically, and that all efforts are taken to ensure every eligible borrower gets relief. Because the relief is less than the $50,000 that our members are calling for, we'll keep pushing for additional cancellation without means testing. And because we know the burden families bear from this broken student loan system, we'll keep fighting for relief for every borrower impacted by the student debt crisis and to build a fairer system for the future. Thank you.
Let's give it a round of applause for all the organizers, speakers who made this day possible. You know, when I reflect on today, you know, many people said this would never happen, right? The student debt would never be canceled. And people think that this happened overnight. And I think it's really important that we tell the truth about how long this process has been going. For over a decade, organizers have been rallying the streets, been sending letters, signing petitions, getting arrested at Sallie Mae, right? The depth of this work has gone on for generations and generations, and we, the organizers who stand before you today, have accepted that mission, right? Student debt is something that is a burden on millions and millions of Americans, right? It impacts everybody at some level or another. You know, what happened yesterday was a step in the right direction, and we appreciate President Biden for listening to us and hearing us out. And we recognize that there is still so much to be done, right? For young people are bearing the brunt of the cost of college and how it has increased over the last decade. We really need to think about what is the future of education? What is the future of this moment, and how do we continue to advocate? I appreciate this moment because we are taking a stance forward where we're actually daring to dream. You know, I asked this question of what does the world look like of me minus student debt? The opportunity to become a homeowner, the opportunity to become a business owner, the opportunity to determine your own destiny. Education has been told to us to be the great equalizer, the opportunity for a better future. And for so many people who go to college and don't finish college, they are still saddled with that debt. For so many people who go to college, finish college, and are trying to get a good job, they're not able to do that, right? There's so many barriers within this world, and because of the place and time that we're at now, this was the moment to make it happen. We still have so much to do. There's still so much to fight for. But again, I want to thank the organizers who made this happen. We're continuing to fight forward. We're continuing to assure a better future and a democracy. And as we approach upon the 2022 midterm elections, I have a message to every politician who is running for elected office. Don't just come into our community with promises. Have a plan. Have a policy. Ensure that on day one, you are working to ensure that we see total cancellation happen in this lifetime. It is very important that we work hand in hand with our elected officials to ensure that we have a better democracy, a better future, and an economic integrity to ensure that folks can see themselves in this America. Again, to President Biden, it's not done until it's done. Thank you.
When we fight, we win.
When we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win. Thank you all.
we're going to do one photo of everybody together in front of the White House.